Friendly, a term that grates on my nerves, and we don't want friendly systems, we want powerful systems. We want systems that enable us to do remarkable things. Okay? Supernatural things. That's the opening line of the book, that these technologies should enable us to do near magic, but not friendly. I don't think our machines are our friends, our partners, our assistants in any way, and that we want to think about tools that are very powerful. For me, computers have no more intelligence than a wooden pencil, and that if we build, the right designs, we'll give people a sense of predictable control that we have out of a pencil, but we'll have much more power than we might with ordinary pencil. The way I see about doing this is the scientific method, the reductionist approach. We start by looking first, who are the users, what are the tasks? And often we'll break it out to many communities of users and many kinds of tasks. And then I want a theory, and I want to be able to predict and measure the time it takes for a specific user to learn a specific task, the speed and performance of benchmark tasks, the rate and distribution of errors, the human retention over time, and then, and only after that, do we move on to subjective satisfaction. And here I'll cite the questionnaire for user interface satisfaction, which is part of the work from our lab. And from that website, you can trace your way to the QUIS, the questionnaire for user interface satisfaction. So let me just use that to go there. Under the Laboratory for Automation Psychology, Kent Norman, our partner in psychology, has developed over the last 10 years this questionnaire for user interface satisfaction. And there we go. And QUIS is now 7.0. More than 100 organizations around the world have licensed this from the University of Maryland. It has a series of questionnaire items with 1 to 9 scales, and they go from low-level details of, are the characters readable, are the colors appropriate, to are the terminology used consistently, is the sequence of screens appropriate, are there shortcuts for experts, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a tool for designers to get an assessment from users as to which aspects of their system are inappropriate. In a recent study with the Maryland Department of Juvenile Justice, 303 users filled out this questionnaire and led us to a good understanding of what worked and what didn't work in that environment. So I want to balance this performance measurement with subjective satisfaction. For me, though, I'll always go first for the performance measurements. And if you're not measuring human performance, you're not doing human-computer interaction. Okay? You're not doing human factors in adequate ways. I think we currently have good numerical understanding in many technologies. If you buy a car, you expect 28 miles per gallon, 14 cubic feet of trunk space, and so on. You might cite any number of parameters of interest to you. And I'd hope that our understanding of interfaces proceeds to the point where people will know, well, I expect 3-minute learning times, and I expect less than 7 errors per 1,000 operations, and I expect, 15 seconds for a person to open up a new bank account. I expect we will get closer. And I'd like to see on the software boxes those kind of numbers, so I can have a clearer sense of what the performance will be with these systems. We want to accommodate individual differences and recognize the 5 to 95 percentile ranges for typical users or for special users, older, younger, handicapped users, men, women, English speakers, non-English speakers. We might have a whole range of specifications for different communities and that accommodate those individual differences. Again, automobile designers know that very well, and they design cars for different communities or allow adjustments of the seat belts for different sized people or the car seats for different sized people. We need to make those control panels much more flexible to allow people to tune the system to adapt it to their own needs and their own capabilities. And here a very simple and basic issue is just the facilitation of evolutionary learning of new software. It's disturbing to me that in many modern systems you have a large hurdle to get over and that there's no graceful way to start. I'd like to see in Microsoft Word instead of the many, many, many menus and choices, a system stripped down to 10% of the functionality, and the help messages stripped down to 10% of the language complexity, and the error messages stripped down for that subset, and then a graceful and evolutionary path that the user can control, by which they can add the functionality they want in a progressive way that's, again, under their control. Right now, there are some simplified tools, and then you jump up to the big tool, and that kind of barrier hurts a lot of people from getting in. I think this issue becomes even more important as we move to the age of universal access and universal service, where we expect still broader sections of the population to be served. And I think that's probably one of the great concerns in this field, is that the current complexity of many systems is limiting the number of people who can participate and limiting the range of functionality that they can benefit from. I think part of it is an economic issue, part of it is a design issue. And we'll come to it more as we talk about web design. Broader issues of social, organizational, and cultural context are also interesting research topics and tough ones to study in a rigorous and scientific way. However, I don't expect that in your professional worlds you'll be running a lot of controlled experiments like we do at Maryland. About a third, maybe a half of the papers on our website are experimental studies. I think in the commercial world, the goal is to develop advanced systems on schedule, on budget, and in that case, this figure of 3 pillars has served me well over the years and tells the story, I think, in a good way, that the 3 things that are really